Imagine remembering every detail, every number, every name, effortlessly. Sounds impossible? It's not. Your brain is capable of far more than you realize, but only if you act. In this audiobook, I'll give you the step-by-step system to train your mind, retain everything, and recall it on command. The clock is ticking. You have a choice: forget or win. Chapter 1. Stop forgetting. Accept the truth about your memory. Stop. Listen carefully. What if I told you that forgetting is not your fault? That's right. It's not your fault. Your brain is not broken. You are not failing. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. You've never trained your memory like an athlete trains their body. That stops today. You have a choice. A real choice. One that will change the way you think, the way you learn, and the way you live. Your memory is not a mystery. Your memory is a skill. A skill that can be strengthened, sharpened, and mastered. That's the key. Every day you are bombarded with information. Names, numbers, ideas, faces, deadlines. You forget. You lose track. You stumble. You feel the frustration. You feel the embarrassment. You think, why can't I just remember? Stop blaming yourself. Stop thinking your memory is some magical gift that others have and you don't. That's nonsense. Your memory is like a muscle. The stronger you make it, the more it performs. You have a choice. Use it or don't. Think about the professionals at the top of their game. CEOs, lawyers, doctors, scientists, world-class performers. They remember details that would make your head spin. And here's the secret. They didn't get there by accident. They didn't have a better brain at birth. They trained it. They developed systems. They built mental habits that force information to stick. They practice. Every single day. You have a choice. You can do the same. Take a look at lawyers who memorize entire books of statutes. Take a look at actors who memorize hundreds of lines for a single performance. Take a look at chess masters who can visualize the entire board 20 moves ahead. Did they rely on luck? No. They relied on discipline. They relied on routine. They relied on training. That's the key. Now let's face a hard truth. Forgetting has a real cost. Every time you forget something important, you pay a price. Missed opportunities, embarrassment, frustration, lost time. Relationships suffer. Careers stall. Your confidence erodes. Every forgotten detail is a brick in the wall between you and your potential. You can tear down that wall brick by brick. You have a choice. You don't need anyone's permission to take control. Here's the next step. Accept the truth. Accept that forgetting is not your destiny. Accept that your memory can grow. Say it out loud. My memory is a skill, not a mystery. Say it again. My memory is a skill, not a mystery. Repeat it until it sinks into your subconscious. That's the key. The next thing you need to understand is why this works. Your brain is designed to prioritize information. It filters out the unimportant and keeps what matters, or what it thinks matters. That's why you remember song lyrics from 10 years ago but forget the grocery list. You don't need luck. You need strategy. You need focus. You need to know exactly how to tell your brain, this matters. Remember this. That's the power of choice. That's the power you are about to reclaim. Here's a simple exercise you can start right now. Think of 5 things you absolutely need to remember today. Names, tasks, appointments. Visualize them clearly. Attach emotion. Make them vivid. Make them impossible to forget. That's your starting point. Every day repeat this exercise. Push your memory. Test it. Challenge it. Build it. That's the path. You have a choice. You can commit or you can stay stuck. Let's bring this closer to reality. Imagine this scenario. You walk into a room and someone's name escapes you. You freeze. Your mind blanks. You feel shame. This happens every day to millions of people. But it doesn't have to happen to you. Not if you accept the truth. Not if you start training your memory. Not if you realize that forgetting is not your fault. You have a choice. You can be the person who forgets, or the person who remembers everything that matters. That's the key. Memory mastery isn't about genius-level IQ or photographic recall. It's about discipline. It's about method. It's about repeated action. It's about building systems that force your brain to capture, retain, and recall information at will. You don't need a perfect memory. You need a trained memory. You have a choice. Here's another exercise. Every day for the next week, pick one memory skill to practice. It could be remembering a phone number without writing it down. It could be memorizing 5 items from your grocery list. It could be recalling 5 facts from a book you read. Each time you do this, you train your brain. Each time you reinforce the truth, your memory is not fixed. Your memory is a skill. That's the key. Let's summarize the first lesson. Forgetting is not failure. Forgetting is the starting line. Your memory is a skill, not a mystery. You have a choice every single day to strengthen it or neglect it. Real-world examples prove it. Top performers, memory champions, and professionals didn't wait for talent. They built habits. They built systems. They built discipline. You can do the same. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need luck. You only need action. You only need consistency. So here's the challenge. Today, stop accepting forgetfulness as your reality. Say it aloud. My memory is a skill. I choose to train it. Start small. Start now. Build momentum. Keep repeating. Keep practicing. Make forgetting impossible for the things that matter most. That's the key. That's your power. You have a choice. Use it. You have begun the journey. You've accepted the truth. You've seen the cost of forgetting. You've embraced the idea that memory is a skill, not a mystery. That's the foundation. Strong. Unshakable. Ready for what comes next. You mastered your awareness of the problem. Now let's train your mind to think like a genius. Chapter 2. The Memory Mindset. Think like a genius. Stop. Listen carefully. Your memory isn't just about storing facts. It's about mindset. The way you think directly shapes how much you can remember. That's the key. If you believe your memory is weak, it will be weak. If you believe you can remember anything, you will. You have a choice. That's the first step toward mastering your mind. You have a choice to stop doubting yourself and start training your brain like the world's greatest minds. Say it aloud. I remember what matters effortlessly. Say it again. I remember what matters effortlessly. Repeat it until it becomes part of your subconscious. That's not fluff. That's truth. The brain responds to belief. The brain responds to focus. The brain responds to repetition. And the brain can grow. Every single day. Let's talk about focus. Focus is more than paying attention. Focus is deliberate, intense, selective attention to the information that matters. Every time you focus on one thing, your brain strengthens the connections that store that information. Every distraction weakens those connections. That's why your phone, your notifications, your endless scrolling are silently eroding your memory. You have a choice. Focus or forget. That's the key. Neuroplasticity is the scientific term you need to understand. Your brain is not static. Your brain is not fixed. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on the experiences, thoughts, and habits you practice. Every time you challenge your memory, every time you visualize, repeat, or recall information, you are literally reshaping your brain. That's not theory, that's proven science. Your brain grows stronger with practice just like your muscles. You have a choice. Use it or don't. That's the key. Now let's look at real examples. Albert Einstein. A genius? Yes. But his brilliance was not just natural talent. Einstein had a rigorous mental routine. He visualized complex problems. He imagined thought experiments. He questioned assumptions. He forced his brain to process information in ways most people never attempt. That's the power of mindset. That's how genius is built. You have a choice. You can train your mind step by step like Einstein did, or you can let potential go to waste. Leonardo da Vinci. A master of memory, observation, and innovation. How did he do it? Da Vinci combined focus with curiosity. He studied relentlessly. He observed patterns others missed. He created mental connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. That's not magic. That's method. That's the mindset of genius. You have a choice. Follow that method or remain ordinary. That's the key. Let's bring this closer to your life. The way you talk to yourself matters. The words you repeat shape the neural pathways in your brain. Every time you tell yourself, I have a bad memory, you strengthen forgetfulness. Every time you tell yourself, I remember what matters effortlessly, you strengthen recall. You have a choice. You control the narrative. You control the results. That's the key. Here's an exercise for you. Take 5 facts you want to remember today. Names, numbers, dates, anything. Before you even try to memorize them, close your eyes and say, I remember what matters effortlessly. Visualize yourself recalling each fact with clarity. Feel it in your mind. Embrace it. Then practice recalling the information. Test yourself. Repeat. That's the mindset. That's neuroplasticity in action. That's how your memory grows stronger each day. You have a choice. Practice or forget. That's the key. Another example, consider chess grandmasters. They don't rely on luck or natural talent. They study positions. They visualize moves. They recall patterns from years of practice. Their success is not genetic, it's mental discipline. They train their memory daily. They harness focus, belief, and repetition. That's mindset. That's genius. You have a choice. You can train like them or stay average. That's the key. It's important to understand that mindset alone isn't enough. You need systems. You need practice. You need structure. But without the right mindset, systems fail. Without belief, repetition is weak. Without focus, neuroplasticity is wasted. That's why the mantra is so critical. I remember what matters effortlessly. Repeat it. Internalize it. Live it. Every thought you have shapes your memory. You have a choice. That's the key. Let's be blunt. Most people fail because they focus on excuses instead of solutions. They say, I'm too old. I'm too busy. I don't have a natural memory. Stop. None of that matters. That's the problem. It's not about age, it's about discipline. It's not about luck, it's about method. It's not about genius, it's about mindset. You have a choice. Discipline or excuses. That's the key. Here's a practical drill to embed this chapter into your life. Every morning, take 5 minutes and repeat your mantra. Then, pick one piece of information to memorize using focus and visualization. Repeat it throughout the day. Track your success. Push yourself further each day. Your brain will respond. Connections will strengthen. Memory will improve. You have a choice. Daily action or continued forgetfulness. That's the key. Another truth, your environment shapes your mindset. Reduce distractions. Eliminate noise. Surround yourself with cues that reinforce focus and memory. Silence notifications. Prioritize deep work. This is how top performers operate. They do not leave memory to chance. They create conditions for recall to thrive. You have a choice. Create the environment or remain average. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 2. Memory is not just storing information. It's thinking like a genius. Belief, focus, and repetition amplify retention. Neuroplasticity proves your brain grows stronger with practice. Real-world geniuses like Einstein and Da Vinci didn't rely on luck. They trained their minds. You don't need genius. You need mindset. You have a choice. You can repeat the mantra, build focus, practice daily, and grow your memory, or continue letting information slip through your fingers. That's the key. You have mastered the mindset. You understand belief, focus, and the science behind your brain's growth. Now it's time to learn the first tool to make this mindset actionable. Chapter 3, Visual Power, the Brain's Secret Shortcut. Stop. Pay attention. If you think your memory is about repeating words or lists, you're missing the single most powerful tool your brain has. The truth is this: the human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than words. 60,000. Not 6. Not 600. 60,000. That means if you want to remember anything, names, numbers, tasks, ideas, you're far more likely to succeed if you use images. You have a choice. Use words and forget. Use images and remember everything. That's the key. Here's the reality most people ignore. Our brains are wired for visual thinking. Every thought, every memory, every mental snapshot we store starts as an image. Words alone are weak. They slip through our attention like sand. But images? Images stick. Images spark emotion. Images create associations. That's the key. That's why top performers, memory champions, and geniuses use visualization as their secret weapon. You have a choice. You can stick to boring repetition, or you can harness the power of visual memory. Let's get practical. How do you do it? First, stop thinking literally. Stop imagining things as ordinary. Make them absurd. Make them outrageous. Make them emotional. That's the key. Your brain remembers things it finds unusual. Your brain remembers things that provoke emotion. Grocery lists? They become mental adventures. Speeches? They become stories with vivid, impossible imagery. You have a choice. Make it ordinary and forget. Make it visual and remember effortlessly. That's the key. Here's an example. Imagine you need to remember a grocery list. Eggs, milk, apples, chicken, and bread. Most people read it once, maybe write it down, and hope for the best. Forget it. That doesn't work. Instead, visualize it. A giant egg cracking open and spilling golden yolk over a swimming pool of milk. Apples falling from the sky like meteors. A chicken wearing sunglasses, dancing on a loaf of bread. Crazy? Yes. Absurd? Absolutely. Memorable? Without a doubt. You have a choice. Plain lists or unforgettable images. That's the key. Another example. Imagine you need to memorize a speech. Break it into key points. Then create an image for each point. Make it ridiculous. Make it emotional. Make it impossible to forget. Every time you mentally walk through your images, your brain recalls the ideas instantly. No notes. No stress. That's visual power. That's memory mastery. You have a choice. Chaos or clarity. That's the key. Here's the science behind it. The visual cortex in your brain is far larger and more active than the language centers. Images light up more neurons, create more pathways, and stick longer. Repetition alone isn't enough. Words without images are weak. You have a choice. Harness your visual brain, or keep forgetting. That's the key. Let's make it even more powerful. Emotion amplifies memory. The more emotional, absurd, or dramatic your image, the stronger the memory trace. Imagine a talking apple screaming your grocery list. Imagine your speech points as a superhero battle. The more bizarre, the better. That's the key. That's how champions remember thousands of pieces of information effortlessly. You have a choice. Boring or brilliant. That's the key. Now let's combine techniques. Chunk your images into sequences, stories, or journeys. Instead of remembering 5 separate items, link them together in a mental movie. The egg spills into the milk, which floods the apples, while the dancing chicken hops across the bread. A story emerges. Your memory becomes unstoppable. You have a choice. Random or structured. That's the key. Real-world example. Memory champions use this every day. They memorize decks of cards by turning each card into a vivid, emotional image and placing it along a mental path, a memory palace. After a few seconds of visualization, they can recall the order of all 52 cards instantly. They don't read them repeatedly. They see them in their mind. That's visual power. You have a choice. Memorize by reading or memorize by seeing. That's the key. Here's a daily drill for you. Take 5 items you need to remember today. Not 10, not 20, 5. Visualize them vividly. Make them absurd. Make them emotional. Link them together in a story. Recall them at the end of the day. Test yourself. Repeat. 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 That's the key. You have a choice. Do the work or forget. That's the key. Let's tackle a common objection. I'm not creative enough for this. Stop. That's an excuse. Visual memory is not about artistic talent. It's about mental absurdity. Even simple, exaggerated images work. A banana with sunglasses works. A dancing chicken works. You don't need their permission. You don't need to be an artist. You need practice. That's the key. You have a choice. Believe or doubt. That's the key. Another drill. Memorize numbers with images. Need to remember 472? Visualize a 4-legged giraffe wearing a hat, holding 7 bananas, sliding down a rainbow shaped like a 2. Ridiculous? Yes. Memorable? Absolutely. Numbers, dates, names, lists, everything becomes easier when you turn it into a mental picture. You have a choice. Forget or see. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 3. Words are weak. Images are powerful. The human brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than language. The secret to memory mastery is absurd, vivid, emotional imagery. Use stories. Link items. Amplify emotion. Repeat. Test yourself. Build mental movies. Make your brain see what you need to remember. You have a choice. Visual or forget. That's the key. You have unlocked the power of visualization. You understand how images beat words. You have seen how absurdity, emotion, and story make memory unstoppable. Now it's time to turn that visual power into actionable structures for long-term recall. Chapter 4. Chunk your way to mastery. Stop. Listen closely. Most people fail to remember because they try to absorb everything at once. They cram, they read, they repeat, but their brain overloads. That's not memory failure. That's poor strategy. The truth is simple. The human brain remembers best in chunks. Small, meaningful units. Bite-sized pieces. That's the key. You have a choice. You can stay overwhelmed, or you can break it down. That's the key. Think about phone numbers. Why do we separate them into chunks? 5552178910. Not 5552178910. Because our brains struggle with long strings of raw information. Chunking turns chaos into clarity. It's simple. It works. You have a choice. Ignore it and forget. Use it and remember effortlessly. That's the key. Now let's expand this idea. Chunking isn't just for numbers. It's for names, facts, formulas, speeches, even entire books. Anything that seems overwhelming can be broken into chunks. That's mental discipline. That's memory mastery. You have a choice. Fragment or organize. That's the key. Here's a real-world example. Chess masters. They don't memorize thousands of moves one by one. They chunk positions and patterns. They see the board in meaningful structures. Openings, tactics, endgames. Each chunk represents hundreds of individual moves. That's how they recall thousands of positions effortlessly. That's chunking in action. You have a choice. Memorize randomly or chunk it. That's the key. Let's make it practical. Imagine you need to memorize a sequence. 3-7-4-8-2-5. You can see it as 6 separate numbers or 2 chunks. 374 and 825. Suddenly, your brain only has to remember 2 units instead of 6. Chunk it. Lock it. Recall it. Repeat that mantra. Chunk it. Lock it. Recall it. Repeat it aloud. That's the key. You have a choice. Complicate or simplify. That's the key. Chunking works because it aligns with how the brain encodes memory. When you create meaningful units, your brain builds stronger connections. Each chunk becomes a network of related information. It's not magic, it's biology. You have a choice. Understand it or struggle forever. That's the key. Let's take it further. Names, for instance. You meet a new person, Jessica Thompson. Instead of trying to remember the full name as a string of letters, chunk it, Jess plus Thompson. Then attach a mental image, Jess juggling tomatoes on a trampoline, Thompson riding a rocket. You've just combined chunking with visualization. That's powerful. That's mastery. You have a choice. Forget or combine strategies. That's the key. Another example, learning formulas. Physics, chemistry, math, they're full of intimidating sequences. Don't memorize line by line. Break formulas into functional units. Each chunk tells a story. Each piece has meaning. Then link them in order. Your recall skyrockets. Chunk it. Lock it. Recall it. Repeat. You have a choice. Struggle or dominate. That's the key. Chunking isn't only about memory, it's about focus. When you reduce complexity into digestible parts, your mind stops wandering. You can concentrate. You can encode. You can retain. That's mental discipline. That's the mindset of champions. You have a choice. Scatter or focus. That's the key. Here's a mental exercise. Take a speech, a book chapter, or a long list. Break it into 5 chunks. Assign each chunk a title, a mental image, or a story. Practice recalling each chunk separately. Then link them together. Test yourself at the end of the day. That's how mastery is built. You have a choice: chaos or structure. That's the key. Let's talk about repetition. Chunking alone isn't enough. You must lock it in. Review each chunk multiple times, spaced throughout the day. Recall them deliberately. Test yourself. That's how long-term memory is created. That's how information moves from short-term to permanent storage. Chunk it, lock it, recall it, repeat. That's the key. You have a choice: half effort or mastery. That's the key. Here's a common objection: I have too much to remember, chunking won't help. Stop. That's exactly why chunking is necessary. The more information you have, the more you need to organize it. Your brain cannot handle chaos. It can handle patterns. It can handle meaningful units. It can handle chunks. You have a choice: struggle or structure. That's the key. Now let's combine chunking with everything you've learned so far. Visualize each chunk. Attach emotion, absurdity, and narrative. Break large concepts into units. Practice every day. Test yourself relentlessly. Your memory will expand. Your recall will sharpen. You will become unstoppable. You have a choice: average or exceptional. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 4. Forget trying to remember everything at once. Break it into chunks. Find patterns. Assign meaning. Link it with images. Use stories. Test yourself repeatedly. Repeat the mantra: chunk it, lock it, recall it. That's the strategy of memory champions. That's the strategy of high performers. You have a choice: overwhelm or mastery. That's the key. You have learned how to organize chaos. You have practiced dividing information into meaningful units. You have begun to see how memory can be trained strategically. Now it's time to supercharge recall with narrative. Chapter 5: Stories over Facts, the Retention Hack. Stop. Listen closely. If you think memory is about memorizing isolated facts, think again. The human brain does not store information in random, disconnected pieces. It stores meaning. It stores context. It stores stories. That's the key. You have a choice. You can try to remember facts and fail, or you can harness narrative and remember effortlessly. That's the key. Think about it. You probably remember what happened yesterday. You remember a conversation, an event, a funny moment. What? Not because of isolated facts. Not because of random details. You remember stories. Stories stick. Stories create context. Stories activate emotion. That's why humans have passed down knowledge through storytelling for thousands of years. You have a choice: ignore it or use it. That's the key. Here's the truth: abstract ideas are difficult to retain on their own. Facts float in the void and slip away. But when you turn facts into a story, suddenly your brain can anchor them. It connects details into a sequence. Each fact has meaning. Each fact has context. That's the key. You have a choice: forget facts or embed them in stories. That's the key. Let's make it practical. Imagine you need to memorize a presentation with 5 main points. Most people use bullet points. They read, reread, hope to recall. Stop. That doesn't work. Instead, turn your points into a story. Give each point a character, an action, a visual. Make them interact. Make it absurd, vivid, memorable. Now when you walk on stage, your brain recalls the story, and every point comes naturally. That's memory mastery. You have a choice: forget or narrate. That's the key. Example: suppose your presentation is about productivity. Point 1, time management. Point 2, focus. Point 3, delegation. Point 4, avoiding distractions. Point 5, building habits. Instead of bullet points, create a story. Time management is a giant clock walking through your office. Focus is a laser beam cutting through piles of work. Delegation is a group of tiny helpers carrying tasks efficiently. Distractions are mischievous gremlins you chase away. Habits are bricks building a tower of success. Suddenly, the presentation is unforgettable. Chunk it, story it, recall it. That's the key. You have a choice. Memorize or perform brilliantly. That's the key. Here's another drill. Take a list of 10 items you need to remember. Don't repeat them aloud. Don't write them down. Instead, weave them into a story. The stranger your story, the more emotional, the more absurd, the better. Make your brain see, feel, and experience the information. Each time you recall the story, every detail comes back automatically. That's the power of narrative. You have a choice. Forget or visualize a story. That's the key. Stories are not just for presentations or grocery lists. They work for concepts, history, formulas, and abstract ideas. Imagine trying to remember the water cycle. Instead of memorizing definitions, visualize the sun as a giant chef evaporating water, clouds as floating kitchens condensing steam, and rain as water chefs pouring ingredients back to the earth. Ridiculous? Yes. Memorable? Absolutely. You have a choice. Facts or stories. That's the key. Why does this work? Stories activate multiple parts of your brain. Language, imagery, emotion, reasoning, they all fire at once. The brain encodes the memory more strongly. Each recall strengthens neural pathways. Over time, your retention becomes effortless. This is the strategy of memory champions. You have a choice. Passive memorization or active storytelling. That's the key. Here's a daily exercise to practice story-based memory. Pick 5 things you need to remember today. Could be work tasks, names, or ideas. Assign each item a character, action, or visual. Connect them in a story. The stranger, more emotional or more absurd, the better. Mentally walk through the story several times. Recall it at the end of the day. Test yourself. Strengthen the memory. Repeat daily. That's the key. You have a choice. Forget or build stories. That's the key. Let's be clear, this is not a gimmick. It is not playing pretend. It is neuroscience. Your brain is wired for narrative. Every time you practice, every time you encode a story, you strengthen memory retention. You are literally rewiring your brain for effortless recall. You have a choice. Apply it or stay stuck. That's the key. Another real-world example. Actors memorize scripts through narrative. They don't memorize lines in isolation. They see the story, the character, the emotion. That's why they recall hundreds of lines with accuracy and expression. You can do the same. Bullet points fail. Stories stick. That's the key. You have a choice. Memorize or perform with mastery. That's the key. Here's a challenge. Tomorrow, take a list of 10 items you need to remember. Do not write them down. Do not repeat them verbally. Turn them into a story. Make it vivid. Make it emotional. Make it impossible to forget. Test yourself later. Repeat. Strengthen. Build momentum. That's the path. That's memory mastery. You have a choice. Story or forget. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 5. Facts alone are weak. Narratives are strong. Humans are wired to remember stories, not isolated details. Turn abstract ideas into vivid, absurd, emotional stories. Link items. Use characters, actions, and imagery. Repeat, recall, and reinforce daily. Every story you create strengthens your memory and rewires your brain. Repeat the mantra, story it, recall it, remember everything. You have a choice. Forget or story it. That's the key. You have seen the power of narrative. You understand how stories anchor memory. You know how to turn abstract ideas into unforgettable mental movies. Now it's time to take that foundation and build an entire memory palace for unstoppable recall. Chapter 6. The Memory Palace. Build your mind's fortress. Stop. Pay attention. If you want to take your memory to the next level, there is one tool that has separated ordinary people from memory champions for centuries. The Memory Palace. Also called the method of loci, it is simple, powerful, and devastatingly effective. The brain loves locations. It loves spatial memory. It loves stories anchored in space. That's the key. You have a choice. Keep memorizing randomly, or build a fortress for your mind. That's the key. Here's the truth. Humans remember places better than abstract data. That's why you can navigate your home blindfolded, but struggle to recall a random list of numbers. The memory palace exploits this natural ability. You take information and attach it to locations in a familiar environment. Suddenly, your brain has a framework, a structure, a mental map. That's the key. You have a choice: chaos or structure. That's the key. Let's get practical. Imagine your childhood home. Walk through it in your mind. Start at the front door. Notice the couch, the kitchen table, the stairs. These locations are anchors. Every piece of information you want to remember can now be placed in these locations. That's the key. You have a choice: forget or anchor. That's the key. Step-by-step example. Suppose you need to memorize 50 grocery items. Start at the front door. Place item 1, a carton of eggs on the welcome mat. Item 2, milk spilling down the stairs. Item 3, apples rolling across the kitchen counter. Item 4, a dancing chicken on the sofa. Item 5, bread stacked on the dining table. Keep moving through your house, room by room, assigning each item a vivid, absurd image. By the time you reach 50 items, you have created a mental house filled with unforgettable, highly visual markers. That's the key. You have a choice: memorize randomly or use a palace. That's the key. Here's why it works. Each location in your palace becomes a hook. Your brain naturally recalls spatial sequences. By walking through your palace, you retrieve every item in order. This isn't theory, it's proven science. Memory athletes use this technique to memorize decks of cards, long numbers, even entire books. You have a choice: continue guessing or build a palace. That's the key. Let's make it even stronger. Emotion amplifies recall. Don't just place items. Make them absurd, funny, or shocking. Eggs screaming as they hit the mat. Apples bouncing like basketballs. Bread flying across the room. The more ridiculous, the more emotional, the more your brain will remember. You have a choice: ordinary or unforgettable. That's the key. Reinforcement is everything. Walking through your palace once is not enough. Walk through it daily. Visualize each room, each object, each story. Test yourself. Strengthen the connections. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That's the key. You have a choice: neglect or reinforce. That's the key. Another practical tip: link multiple palaces. One for groceries, one for work tasks, one for learning new skills. Each palace exists in your mind separately, but the structure is the same. You can build limitless memory space without overlap or confusion. You have a choice: limited memory or infinite memory. That's the key. Real-world example. Memory champions often memorize a deck of cards in minutes using the palace method. Each card becomes a vivid image, placed along a mental journey through a familiar location. When they recall the deck, they simply walk through the palace, retrieving every card in perfect order. This technique allows them to memorize hundreds of items in minutes. That's not magic. That's disciplined visualization. That's memory mastery. You have a choice: ordinary or extraordinary. That's the key. Here's an exercise to start today. Pick a small, familiar space, your home, office, or apartment. Walk through it in your mind slowly. Notice details, rooms, furniture. Take a list of 5 to 10 items. Assign each item a location and a vivid image. Mentally walk through the space, recalling each item in order. Repeat daily. Gradually increase the number of items. Walk through your palace daily. Repeat that phrase. It's the mantra. That's the key. You have a choice: build or forget. That's the key. Another tip: combine this with visualization techniques from earlier chapters. Chunk information before placing it in the palace. Turn facts into stories. Make images absurd and emotional. Link sequences together. Your palace becomes more than memory, it becomes a fortress, an extension of your mind. You have a choice: ordinary or unstoppable. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 6. The memory palace is a framework, a mental structure, a fortress for your mind. Assign information to familiar locations. Make it absurd, emotional, and memorable. Walk through your palace daily. Reinforce. Repeat. Expand. You can memorize grocery lists, speeches, numbers, or even books with ease. This technique, combined with visualization, chunking, and storytelling, transforms memory from weakness into unstoppable strength. You have a choice. Walk or forget. That's the key. You have built your first palace. You have assigned vivid, emotional images to familiar locations. You understand reinforcement. You see how absurdity and emotion amplify memory. Now it's time to move into repetition techniques that lock memory permanently. Chapter 7. Repetition without boredom, the science of recall. Stop. Pay attention. Memory isn't just about storing information, it's about keeping it alive. You can memorize a list today and forget it tomorrow. That's normal. But it doesn't have to happen. The difference between forgetfulness and mastery is repetition. Not mindless repetition. Not boring repetition. Repetition done the right way. That's the key. You have a choice. Forget or recall effortlessly. That's the key. Here's the truth most people ignore. Timing matters more than quantity. Massed repetition, cramming over and over in one session, fails. Your brain overloads. The memory decays. Spaced repetition is different. Small reviews, repeated at intervals, lock information into long-term memory. That's science. That's why top performers, polyglots, and memory champions use spaced repetition daily. You have a choice. Cramp or space. That's the key. Let's get practical. Imagine memorizing a 50-item grocery list. Don't try to review it 50 times in one sitting. Review it once. Then revisit after an hour. Then a day later. Then 3 days later. Each review strengthens the neural pathways. Each recall makes the memory permanent. That's how the brain works. That's the science. You have a choice. Forget fast or remember forever. That's the key. Here's another truth. Testing is stronger than passive repetition. Simply reading or reviewing is weak. Actively recall. Quiz yourself. Self-testing forces the brain to retrieve information, and retrieval strengthens memory far more than review alone. Test it, forget it, retrieve it, remember it. Repeat this mantra. That's the key. You have a choice. Passive or active mastery. That's the key. Now let's talk tools. Flashcards are your ally. Digital apps like Anki or Quizlet automate spaced repetition and track performance. Every time you miss an item, it resurfaces more often. Every time you succeed, it appears less. The system trains your brain efficiently. You have a choice. Struggle or use smart systems. That's the key. Self-testing works for more than facts. Speeches, presentations, formulas, and sequences can all be rehearsed through active recall. Speak out loud. Close your eyes. Imagine the information. Retrieve it without looking. Each successful retrieval is a mental victory. Test it, forget it, retrieve it, remember it. Repeat. That's the key. You have a choice. Forget or master effortlessly. That's the key. Let's add some variety. Boredom kills retention. To reinforce memory without fatigue, mix methods. Visualize items. Turn them into stories. Walk through your memory palace. Test yourself with flashcards. Teach the information to someone else. Switch techniques. Variety keeps the brain engaged and strengthens recall. You have a choice. Boring or brilliant. That's the key. Here's a practical drill for today. Take 5 items from your mental palace or story-based memory. Review them once. Wait 1 hour, then recall. Wait 1 day, then recall again. After 3 days, test yourself again. Repeat weekly for long-term retention. Say it aloud as you practice. Test it, forget it, retrieve it, remember it. Repeat until it becomes automatic. That's how mastery is built. You have a choice. Ignore or reinforce. That's the key. Real-world example. Language learners use spaced repetition for vocabulary. They don't cram 100 words in one session. They review 10 to 20 words per day, revisiting each at optimal intervals. Within weeks, the words stick permanently. This method works because retrieval strengthens memory. Test it, forget it, retrieve it, remember it. You have a choice. Random or structured. That's the key. Another example. Musicians memorize complex pieces using repetition and active recall. They don't play the entire piece repeatedly in one marathon session. They focus on sections, review them at intervals, and test themselves under different conditions. Result: effortless recall, perfect performance. That's repetition done right. You have a choice: forget or perform flawlessly. That's the key. Let's summarize the lesson. Memory decays without reinforcement. Spaced repetition is superior to massed repetition. Active recall strengthens memory far beyond passive review. Test it, forget it, retrieve it, remember it. Combine methods: flashcards, apps, stories, palaces, teaching. Add variety to prevent boredom. Repeat, review, reinforce. That's the strategy of memory champions. That's how you retain information permanently. You have a choice: forget or master. That's the key. You now understand timing, retrieval, and reinforcement. You have the tools to lock memory into place. But there's more. Memory isn't just about retaining, it's about protecting. Sleep, nutrition, and focus amplify everything you've learned. Neglect them and even perfect repetition fails. That's why the next chapter is critical. You've built a strong foundation with visualization, chunking, storytelling, memory palaces, and repetition. Now it's time to protect your mental edge. Chapter 8: Daily Rituals for a Laser-Sharp Memory. Stop. Listen carefully. You can memorize anything. You can build a memory palace. You can visualize, chunk, and tell stories. You can use repetition like a champion. But none of it works if your brain isn't primed for performance. That's the key. You have a choice: neglect your mental health, or build habits that amplify memory. That's the key. Let's start with sleep. Your brain consolidates memory while you sleep. Facts, images, stories, chunks, they all solidify during deep sleep cycles. Skip sleep and your memory falters. It's that simple. One night of poor sleep erases hours of effort. You have a choice: shortchange rest, or lock in everything you learn. That's the key. Hydration matters. Even mild dehydration reduces cognitive performance. Your neurons need water to transmit signals effectively. Forget memory hacks if you're dehydrated. Drink water consistently throughout the day. You have a choice: neglect or optimize. That's the key. Nutrition directly fuels the brain. Omega-3s, antioxidants, protein, and healthy fats support memory formation and recall. Sugary snacks and processed foods impair focus and retention. Eat to power your mind. Your brain deserves it. You have a choice: poison or fuel. That's the key. Movement isn't optional. Exercise increases blood flow, neurogenesis, and neuroplasticity. A brisk walk, a short workout, or even stretching primes the brain for memory. Physical activity sharpens mental clarity and strengthens recall. You have a choice: sedentary or unstoppable. That's the key. Now let's talk mental drills. Daily practice is non-negotiable. 10 minutes of deliberate memory exercises compounds into weeks and months of transformation. This is not optional. It is essential. That's the key. You have a choice: sit idle or train daily. That's the key. Here's a practical morning drill. Choose 5 items or facts you want to memorize. Visualize them vividly. Make them absurd. Attach emotion. Place them in your memory palace. Walk through the palace in your mind. Test yourself by recalling without looking. Repeat each day with new items, reinforcing old items weekly. This 10-minute ritual primes your brain. Every morning you signal to your mind: I am training. I am focused. I am building memory. That repetition compounds. That's the key. You have a choice: skip or master. That's the key. Let's be clear. Consistency beats intensity. 1 hour once a week is weaker than 10 minutes daily. Small, consistent practice builds automatic recall. You are rewiring your brain slowly but permanently. You have a choice: random or deliberate. That's the key. Real-world example. Students who study in short, focused morning sessions retain more material than those who cram late at night. Professionals who review client details daily recall with precision. Memory champions practice consistently. It's not luck. It's ritual. You have a choice: chaos or discipline. That's the key. Combine these rituals with everything you've learned so far. Visualize, chunk, story, palace, and repeat, but now fuel the brain with sleep, water, nutrition, and movement. 10 minutes daily of deliberate practice becomes unstoppable power. You have a choice: neglect or enhance. That's the key. Another drill: before bed, review your mental palace from the day. Walk through it slowly. Recall each image, each story, each chunk. Reinforce memory while the brain consolidates during sleep. That's how memory transforms from effortful to effortless. You have a choice: forget or cement. That's the key. Here's a mindset note: rituals are not optional. Champions ritualize their success. Memory mastery is not an accident. It is daily, disciplined, intentional action. 10 minutes today. 10 minutes tomorrow. Weeks become months. Months become a lifetime of effortless recall. You have a choice: ordinary or unstoppable. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 8. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, and movement prime the brain for recall. Morning mental drills compound memory power. 10 minutes daily of focused practice. Visualization, palace walking, storytelling, chunking, and retrieval builds a foundation that lasts. Repeat, reinforce, and ritualize. That's how you achieve laser-sharp memory. You have a choice: neglect or dominate. That's the key. You have now created the perfect environment for memory mastery. Your mind is primed, your rituals are in place, and your daily habits compound. Next, we focus on attention, the ultimate multiplier for memory. Chapter 9. Avoid memory killers, protect your mental edge. Stop. Listen carefully. All the memory strategies you've learned, visualization, chunking, storytelling, memory palaces, repetition, rituals, can fail if you allow memory killers into your life. That's the harsh truth. Distractions, multitasking, stress, poor diet, and digital dependency silently destroy memory. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. Repeat it: every distraction is a memory lost forever. That's the key. You have a choice: protect your mind or watch potential slip away. That's the key. Let's start with distractions. Every ping, notification, or interruption splits your attention. Your brain cannot encode information effectively when it is pulled in multiple directions. Multitasking is a myth. It weakens memory and prevents deep learning. One task at a time. Full focus. That's the key. You have a choice: multitask and forget. Focus and remember everything. That's the key. Information overload is another silent killer. Social media feeds, endless articles, and unfiltered notifications flood your brain with data that goes nowhere. You cannot retain every piece of information. Your brain forgets what it cannot prioritize. Stop consuming passively. Curate, filter, focus. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. That's the key. You have a choice: mindless intake or strategic focus. That's the key. Stress is a memory assassin. Chronic stress floods your brain with cortisol, which impairs the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory formation. Sleep is disrupted. Recall fails. Performance declines. Manage stress through meditation, deep breathing, or deliberate breaks. Protect your mental edge. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. You have a choice: stress or control. That's the key. Digital dependency is a hidden threat. Constantly checking devices trains your brain to crave novelty, preventing focus and deep encoding. The result: fragmented attention and poor memory retention. Set boundaries. Batch notifications. Schedule device-free time. Reclaim control. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. You have a choice: slave or master. That's the key. Let's talk diet again. Sugary snacks, highly processed foods, and caffeine spikes harm long-term memory and focus. A brain fed poorly forgets quickly. Prioritize protein, healthy fats, antioxidants, and hydration. Fuel the brain to encode, store, and retrieve information effortlessly. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. You have a choice: poison or power. That's the key. Here's a practical drill. Identify your top 3 distractions daily. Phone, Notifications? Background noise? Remove or minimize them for 60 minutes of deep focus. Engage in deliberate memory practice, visualization, palace, storytelling, chunking, during that focus period. Repeat daily. Build the habit. Protect your memory. Remember, every distraction is a memory lost forever. Repeat it. Own it. That's the key. You have a choice. Protect or lose. That's the key. Let's get concrete with multitasking. You might think checking emails while memorizing a presentation saves time. It doesn't. Every switch between tasks costs neural efficiency. Information decays. Recall suffers. One task. Full focus. Train your mind to resist the pull of multitasking. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. That's the key. You have a choice. Scatter or concentrate. That's the key. Another killer is passive consumption. Endless scrolling, binge-watching, or consuming content without practice prevents deep encoding. Your brain sees data but does not retain it. Practice active memory techniques. Convert what you learn into stories, images, or palaces. Engage the brain fully. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. You have a choice. Passive or active. That's the key. Real-world example. Top students and professionals schedule focused blocks of time. Phones off. Notifications muted. Deep work is uninterrupted. They encode, recall, and perform better than those constantly distracted. This is not luck. It's discipline. Every distraction is a memory lost forever. That's the key. You have a choice. Focus or fail. That's the key. Let's summarize Chapter 9. Distractions, multitasking, stress, poor diet, and digital dependency silently destroy memory. Protect your mental edge by eliminating distractions, managing stress, and feeding your brain. Practice deliberate focus. Reclaim control over your attention. Repeat the mantra, every distraction is a memory lost forever. Reinforce this daily. That's the key. You have a choice. Protect or watch memory slip. That's the key. You now understand the threats to memory and how to guard against them. You have the tools to focus, prioritize, and protect every memory you create. Next, we combine everything into a complete system for lifelong memory mastery. Chapter 10. Remember everything, apply immediately when consistently. Stop. Pay attention. Everything you've learned, the visualization, chunking, storytelling, memory palaces, repetition, rituals, focus, and avoidance of memory killers, was not for theory. It's for action. Memory mastery is useless unless you apply it. That's the key. You have a choice. Learn or act. That's the key. Let's integrate. Memory mastery transforms every area of life. Career? Remember client names, key numbers, and strategies effortlessly. Relationships? Recall birthdays, shared experiences, and personal details that create connection. Personal growth? Absorb books, lectures, and skills faster than ever. Memory is not just retention. It is leverage. You have a choice. Forget or gain unstoppable advantage. That's the key. Here's the truth. Knowledge without application is wasted energy. You can memorize hundreds of items, but if you don't use them, they vanish. You have to act immediately. Take one technique you've learned today, visualization, chunking, storytelling, a memory palace, and apply it to something real. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a concrete action. That's the key. You have a choice. Delay or dominate. That's the key. Example, today you have a presentation or meeting. Use a memory palace to encode the main points. Use stories to anchor abstract ideas. Recall them effortlessly when the time comes. That's memory mastery in action. Tomorrow, use chunking or spaced repetition on a list of tasks or names. Small, deliberate actions compound. That's the key. You have a choice. Passive or unstoppable. That's the key. Let's talk habit stacking. Apply memory techniques daily. Morning drill, visualize and encode. Midday drill, review via spaced repetition. Evening drill, walk through your palace, reinforce stories, chunk new information. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, compound effects build over weeks. That's the key. You have a choice. Forget or grow daily. That's the key. Real-world example. CEOs, top performers, and elite students don't rely on luck. They encode, recall, and apply knowledge deliberately. Every memory is a tool. Every fact remembered is leverage. Every skill reinforced builds unstoppable momentum. That's the power of applied memory. You have a choice. Ordinary or extraordinary. That's the key. Here's a practical daily action plan. Morning, pick one thing to memorize using visualization or storytelling. Midday, reinforce it using spaced repetition or flashcards. Evening, walk through your memory palace or review chunks. Apply it immediately in a real scenario, work, study, or personal life. Repeat. Daily. Every day. That's how mastery becomes permanent. You have a choice. Practice or forget. That's the key. Let's reinforce one final mantra. Memory is power. Power is action. Act now, remember everything, and win. Say it aloud. Own it. Every day, apply what you learn immediately. This is not optional. Immediate application transforms memory from potential into results. You have a choice. Passive or victorious. That's the key. Remember, memory mastery is not about storing facts for fun. It's about leverage. It's about life, career, influence, growth, success. Every piece of information you retain is a tool in your hands. Apply it. Test it. Teach it. Reinforce it. Act on it. Memory without action is wasted potential. You have a choice. Inaction or unstoppable results. That's the key. Now let's summarize everything. Visualize information. Your brain remembers images 60,000 times faster than words. Chunk large data into meaningful units. Simplify chaos. Turn abstract ideas into stories. Anchor memory in context. Build a memory palace. Create a fortress for limitless recall. Apply spaced repetition. Review strategically, not randomly. Practice daily rituals. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement, and focus drills. Avoid memory killers, distractions, multitasking, stress, and digital dependency. Apply immediately. Integrate memory into career, relationships, and growth. Repeat the final mantra one more time. Memory is power. Power is action. Act now, remember everything, and win. That is the culmination of every chapter, every technique, every drill. That is the path to total recall and unstoppable lifelong mastery. You have a choice. Remember or forget. Act or stall. Win or remain ordinary. That's the key. Before we finish, take one step right now. Apply a memory technique immediately. Pick one fact, one idea, one list, and use visualization, chunking, or a story. Test it. Recall it. Lock it in. Every action compounds. Every repetition strengthens. Every application transforms you. Memory is not a skill you acquire for tomorrow. It is a tool you use today. You have a choice. Act or watch opportunity slip. That's the key. If you want more strategies like this, more memory mastery, mental discipline, and life transformation, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell icon. Turn knowledge into action every day. Memory is power, and power is action. Act now, remember everything, and win.